Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. Welcome back to the show, and Happy New Year, Mark.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Jim, and thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure being here.
Mark, do we have a special offer for our listeners?
We still have the one from last year. We're going to change the code. It's 2021 half off. And if we continue to use it, we're going to change it to 2022 half off, obviously, but that's still functional. So when you go to VRTrader.com and you pull up one of our newsletters and you get to the order page, a little space that's entitled promo code, you would enter 2021 half off and you get 50% off of any newsletter you order. I also like to just make a quick disclaimer here. We've done this occasionally on the show. I just want all our listeners to know that I'm not a financial advisor and I don't give financial advice.
Now, you said that before we went on to air here, you were putting together some special notes for us. So let's dig into those notes. I haven't had a chance to hear about them. So just go off the top here and I'll ask questions about it.
Okay, well, there's a lot going on. We're in the first 5 days of the trading year. We talked about this last week. And, according to the old Stock Traders Almanac, it's like the Farmer's Almanac, the Yale Hirsch had put together back in the 1970s. Nothing's carved in stone, but the first 5 days of the year, on many occasions, is a leading indicator for the entire year, which is, sort of interesting. So at the moment, compared to the December close, it sort of indicates a down year, but let's see how it closes on Friday. Net down, so we'll see if that works out. Of course, you've got the regular January barometer, which says you have to really wait till the end of the month to see how the S&P compared to the close December 31st. And if both are negative or both positive, that gives you a little extra ammunition. It sounds like really an arcane indicator, But over the years, I've learned some of the simplest, stupidest things work better than all the sophisticated, technology and programming out there. But, if you're a long-term player in the market, I guess it doesn't really make a lot of difference. So we're watching that, and, that's really interesting. We also have the stock market, I guess you call it the presidential election cycle, which is in play right now and has to do with the election and midterm election of U.S. Presidents. And, I guess it's based on the unobjectionable notion that presidents and their political parties want to get reelected, so they therefore swallow up any of their economic medicine early in their terms in order to get reelected. So you've got the midterm elections coming up in November, so market may be a little nervous ahead of that, but then you also have the possibility of a big rally triggered by some event, economic or otherwise, that tries to encourage people that, hey, maybe you should continue to elect the same people that are in power, the same Democratic Party and so forth. So that's a little ways away, but it is a midterm year, and there could be some volatility. And, of course, we'll all be talking about the presidential cycle 2 years from now when the big one comes in. But I would expect some volatility in both directions this year. That's really what I think I'm looking at. But I really like to see how this January plays out because it is sort of a leading indicator of sorts. We have a lot of other interesting things going on here. We talk occasionally about the geocosmic world, of course. We love talking about stuff like that. Most of the listeners probably heard about the big Interstate 95 closure in Virginia this past week, where some people were stuck in their car for 30 hours because of a snowstorm. And, of course, you guys in Vancouver, got hit with tremendously, a tremendous amount of rain and now ice and cold. And then what else happened? Well, on New Year's Day, the equivalent of 30 tons of TNT apparently exploded as a meteor came over Pennsylvania and just, shocked everybody. And, you say, oh, that's interesting. Why is this meteor coming down? And it was tremendous explosion, and that's not so far from where all we live, supposedly. So I did a little research on that. There was an equivalent meteor explosion over Taiwan in July of last year. So, I love focusing on the geocosmic, and just doing some of a little research here the last 24 hours or so, I just noticed that there's a fast-growing sunspot. It's called AR2924, and has more than doubled in size here in the last day or so. And NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory shows it's in rapid development. So sometimes the huge solar flares come out of these new sunspots, and they do affect the Earth. We've talked about this ad nauseum, so we're watching that one. And
could that be a Carrington event causing thing if we got a giant solar flare? The Carrington event, 1859, September, it knocked out all of the world's telegraph lines because of the massive electromagnetic pulse. And, of course, that was the only electronics back then. Of course, our whole world now is electronic. Imagine what would happen to your bank account.
Right. We're worried about so many other things that we think we have control over, and things that we obviously think we have no control over. But speaking of the 1800s, it's funny you should mention the Carrington, because that plays into what could happen. The big risk is, maybe not the Carrington event or even big earthquake or an asteroid. It could be the volcanoes, the super volcanoes. And I don't know if you recall, from your history, but in 1883 we saw Krakatoa explode, and according to scientists, this was the worst year in history on the planet because of that explosion and what it caused in terms of weather change and everything with the, I guess all the smoke and ash in the atmosphere, and the fact that it killed, 40,000 people at the time. The ashes created tremendous global impact, and that was in 1883. So, just interesting in that mid to late 1800s, things. We don't hear about it, talk about it. We think things like this could happen again, but sure enough, that's going on. We got some other interesting things called the Last Champ excursion. This is as a Earth's protective field seems to be tilting here a little bit, according to some scientific studies, and I put that into my newsletter this past week. At the same time, if that isn't bad enough, we have what's known as an anomalous hole, which is open in the Earth's atmosphere above the North Pole. And that has a magnetic import of some kind. So, all these things, maybe they affect us like the tides are affected by the moon, for example, which we know is the case. And, of course, astrologers will tell you that the movement of the planets affect us too, and people discount that. But I'm a believer after listening to some of these very good analysts in that area over the years that there is definitely some type of correlation. So this affects markets. We've noticed, for example, soybean prices are going up now. There's definitely some food issues spreading around the planet in terms of the delivery of food, but growing of crops. And, these meteors that are exploding and the potential global shift of events going on and the solar activity and the risk of a super volcano going off. Of course, you can't hold your breath every day, but we track stuff like this because you could sit here and suddenly an event like this happens, and everything you've made and earned and your personal safety could change in 10 seconds, and everything you work for has gone nowhere. Of course, you can't do anything about it unless you can leave the planet. So it's just good to know that these things exist, and then the bottom line is you got to enjoy every day and understand that, events like this, can and do unfold. So, those are sort of things that have sort of hit me this past week. We get more to the financial side again. We deviated a little bit because we talked about the stock market. The big play apparently in the last 3 weeks, and I know this because just people that I know that I'm very close to have made lots of money doing this. And we have mentioned it before. We talk about blockchain and so forth and the crypto world. But there's one particular trading vehicle called non-fungible tokens. They call them NFTs. And, they exist on a blockchain, and they become really hot. And there's one particular website, and I'm not making any recommendation here, it's called OpenSeas. If you go to OpenSeas and you open this thing up, it's got these crazy cartoons, these little cartoon characters on it, and these are tradable, as they call them, non-fungible tokens. In fact, Coinbase, ticker symbol COIN, which is about, it was a $250 stock. Some of the projections for that company say they're going to do really well because they're a platform for some of these new non-fungible tokens. This is different than, Bitcoin. It's not a coin, but it, sort of trades as a digital asset. But the point I'm making is some of these little non-fungible tokens are trading for incredible amounts of money, 10, 20, 50, 100,000, 200,000, and they trade. And there's some people that I'm familiar with that have told me about them and just made tons of money, or at least told me they did, in trading these things as they explode. So many, I guess most of them, younger generation that have the cash are focusing less on the Bitcoin and the Ethereum and more popular names. Though they're still very active, of course. And then it seems like a lot of trading action has moved to these non-fungible tokens. So every dog has its day. You have your cannabis stocks that are running, and everybody's in that, and gold and silver do their thing, and gold. Various sectors always have their moments. But and of course, even the cryptos, Bitcoin took off, it was over 60,000, and it sold off, and there's many of those, including myself, who believe that there's still a bright future for the whole crypto sector. But this is a new hot area. And I'm not telling people to jump in, but they might want to do some homework because it seems to be an area of interest. And we do cover this, by the way, in our blockchain letter, which we publish every Friday night. So that also stands out what's going on this past weekend. If you sort of review everything I just went over, it's really one hell of a week because we had a lot of interesting things going on, from meteors to people being stuck in their cars to watching the market the first few days of the year and worrying about a new potential solar storm coming to the planet. So 2022 has really opened up with a bang, in my opinion.
I'm just thinking of these NFTs. I guess this is the latest version of the Beanie Babies or the Pokemon tokens or sports cards back in the 90s.
Exactly. If you just go to OpenSeas and just open that website, and if you have a little patience, you'll first of all, you won't believe what you're seeing. I mean, it's the craziest images that I've ever can imagine. Of course, it makes the business interesting. I told you how I love the fact that Elon Musk got behind the Shiba Inu dog, and you've got all these coins, like Shiba Inu and the Shiba Inu girlfriend and the baby Shiba Inu and the doggy coin itself. Of course, it's officially called the Doge coin. And this makes things fun and interesting in what could be a very dry business if you're just looking at numbers go up and down every day. So see interesting cartoons and young people getting involved and people like Elon Musk getting on Saturday Night Live TV last summer talking about Shiba Inu and the Doge coin and having a little picture of the dog on the coin. And he has a dog there. Of course, he has one of those pets himself. So it just makes things sort of fun. But the same token is some of these things have made people lots of money, and they've been extremely volatile. And it's tough getting into some of these new areas if you don't understand them. It's not like you're just going to go out and buy some stock that trades at $2 a share. You really have to do your homework because some of these coins obviously can go to zero really fast. There's thousands of them out there. So the people that are successful are just following the action of some few coins and just watching the bid and trading and just the action of the coins, and they're getting a sense for it as you would, I suppose, any commodity or any other trading vehicle. And your point is well taken. It's not going to last forever. And there is a shift. Why did the shift move from Bitcoin and Ethereum, the big names, suddenly to these non-fungible tokens as a new hot area? And it's not because they're cheap. As I mentioned, if you go look at some of the websites, they're extremely expensive. So it's not like you're getting in there for a tenth or a thousandth of a penny, which does exist in some of the other coins. But, some of these are really, it's really scary. I would never want to speculate in something like that myself with those kind of prices, but apparently many are and seem to be doing well. And I think because they have some sense that, which ones are going to move faster than others. But it's definitely something people should be aware of going on, because what's happening in a certain sense is people who are looking for something to protect their money from the banks and their fear of a currency devaluation and the war on cash that's been going on. And, when you invest your money in a wallet that is secure and you're in a non-fungible token, or if you're in Ethereum, all these things, you're sort of outside the system. and it's a diversification, as many people, expected to see in gold and silver over the years. So there's a migration into the whole space, which is not a new story. You and I have talked about this for a long time. I'm sure other guests on your show as well, but that's why I'm still of the belief that there's many more years ahead, whether it's non-fungible tokens, Bitcoin, other cryptos, and many of the other trading vehicles that are going to come along.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit, getting down to earth and maybe drilling a bit deeper. What do you think is going to happen with the crude oil market?
It started off with a bang this year. It was in a bit of a correction, and then suddenly, we had this blast off here. We follow some of the leveraged ETFs. We're not back to the highs yet, but we did have a big sell off into crude oil into into December and mid-December, and now it's bouncing back. I'm still overall a bull. I'm not saying that we can't get another deflationary wave sometime during the year and we can get another sell-off, but I'm a buyer on big dips. If we get other big dips, and to me it's just common sense. And this is maybe a multi-year comment, maybe not a trading comment for day to day. Though we do take some trading positions. We are long in our service and ETF that tracks the crude oil market, so we are, I guess, bullish. We're in there. Whether this will continue up immediately or not, but I'm looking for crude oil to exceed the highs that we saw back in 2007. I think it was about $140 a barrel, and that could happen sometime this year. And I think over a multi-year basis, it's even much higher than that because of all the stupidity regarding the green energy and how bad crude oil is for the environment and so forth and so on, when indeed we need so much of it, and most of the world still depends on it, whether, the mental midgets who are promoting the total green movement and eliminating everything else don't understand that it's still part of the big world, and you still need crude oil to manufacture and produce other products, regardless of whether you're green or not. So I'm a bull. Still trading it from the long side, and I think don't be surprised if you see much higher prices through 2022. But like anything else, try to catch the dips because it is volatile.
Lithium. If we're going to have electric vehicles, we're going to need lithium for the batteries. Is lithium and other battery metals the hot spot to be?
Well, it has been. It's been a little bit more of a correction than we saw in the oil market. Oil market ran up, and took off again more strongly than lithium. You would think it would be more robust here. It's actually sort of underperforming here in the last few weeks, and maybe because it had such a big run. I'm a little more, even though I agree that it's definitely an area. It definitely would be part of this EV movement, but the question is, are they really going to build these vehicles as fast as they think they are? And I don't think they will, because it takes, a lot of crude oil to do that. And they don't want crude oil. You need a lot of that, the byproducts and equipment and stuff that, is needed in the EV comes from crude oil, or is based on it on a certain level. So maybe lithium is a definite component, as is palladium and platinum and so forth. But maybe we've been holding our breath too much and expecting too much too soon. They want everything to be converted by 2040s to EVs. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I doubt if that'll happen completely by then, or something will change. One of the areas that I like a little bit better, honestly, is uranium. I still think that's the lifesaver for the planet. I mean, solar energy is not going to do it. Electric vehicles, if they're going to operate, where's the power going to come from to charge up the electric vehicles? Is it going to come from coal? Is it going to come from crude oil? And there's going to be less crude oil around because they're clamping down on it. So, uranium is really the future, and had been. I mean, we have, interstellar spacecraft. I mean, they're being designed to run on nuclear plants. And of course, we know even down here on Earth, you've got ships and submarines that are nuclear powered, and they could operate for years, would never need to refuel. And, unfortunately you had Chernobyl, and unfortunately you had the Japanese meltdown, and people are just fearful of it. But the truth is, it's infinite energy to power the planet. We have a negative viewpoint here, and a lot of people have that viewpoint, but I think most of the world, including China, is building plants, recognizing that's really a limitless source of power, which we really need for the planet to, survive. I mean, economic survival and all kinds of survival. We can't generate enough energy and demands, meet our demands based on current energy sources. So I love solar, I love wind, I love all these geothermal power, I love all these concepts, and they do work on a limited basis, but it's not going to be enough for the growth of world civilization. And I think so anyway, I'm long uranium stocks. That's the bottom line.
Anything else we should be keeping a close eye on right now?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look out the window and see if something's changing in the skies at the moment. I think I'm going to watch for that solar flare. Let's see if that unfolds here in the next couple of days. So I'm sure I haven't covered everything, but bottom line is let's see how the market trades here in the first 30 years, focusing strictly on the markets, and we're going to have a lot of fun this year. There's going to be a lot of one thing I didn't want to mention in closing. That's interest rates and the Federal Reserve. The market, as you know, sell off a couple of days ago. Concerned that the Fed's getting more aggressive. That the minutes that came out a couple of days ago highlighted a more aggressive stance in terms of the interest rate issue. So, where I stand on that, Jim, I'm of the view that there's even the possibility of negative interest rates this year. That, it's totally opposite of what you might be hearing. Oh, the rates are going up. Well, they might go up temporarily, but whether it's a outlier event like the solar flare or something we haven't even discovered yet, I think something's going to drive the Fed to do the opposite of what you're hearing right now. And we may be like Europe, where rates may go to zero, back under zero. You may have to be paying the bank to hold your money. And this is definitely not the conventional view, because money managers seem to be panicking, got to get out of the stock market. Rates are going up. The stock market's going to go down. You got to, the bond market is dangerous, and so forth and so on. I don't think that's going to happen. That's my gut feeling, just putting together both sentiment, what the charts are saying, and the way people are reacting to the news. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I don't think rates are going up so fast. And even if they went up a little bit, I don't think it would change the economic forecasting, because it's a nominal increase compared to where we were decades ago when interest rates were in the mid-teens. So interest rates from 0 to 1% is not going to change the world, even if it stayed there and I'm wrong. But I don't think if it goes up, I don't think it's going to stay up. The Fed may change its mind. So that's where I'm at on that key point, since everybody seems to be focusing on that the future of the stock market in the world now depends on what the Federal Reserve does with rates. And I'm sort of laughing. I think that's sort of the last thing we need to be worrying about.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jim.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark, you can send them to info@housestreet.com, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.